Ted Cruz says Joe Biden could be impeached if Republicans take the U.S. House. There we go. Here's the article right here from the Texas Tribune. Republican senator from Texas said Democrats are weaponizing impeachment for former President Donald Trump, adding, "What's good for the goose is good for the gander." That's right. So right now, you have a debate over the filibuster where Joe Manchin is saying, and expect that vote to happen today, they're going to try and kill the filibuster. They're going to try and institute voter fraud and voter suppression. This is the Democrat voter suppression bill, because they will suppress the will of the people by taking over elections, removing localized elections from you. Ladies and gentlemen, the way that our entire society works is that the closer you get to your community, the more power you get. So the guy who runs your town, like your mayor, has a lot of power in the town. Your senator doesn't have a lot of power over your town. That's the way it should work. So your specific committeeman or ombudsman has the power to fix the pothole in front of your house. That's good. You want the people living in the community to make decisions for the community. You do not want people in Washington to make decisions for you, your children, your health, your life, your dog. You don't want people in Washington doing anything. Don't let your dogs near Dr. Fauci. He'll torture and kill them. Do not allow your puppies near Dr. Fauci. 100%, please. Can we get a let's go Brandon for that? Just keep the dogs away from Dr. Fauci. And the number one way to do that is for Dr. Fauci to himself be put inside of a prison, the same type of torture prisons he put animals into, because he's a complete monster. Dr. Fauci, an absolute and abject monster. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, here is the argument. The argument on the Senate floor is that they should get rid of the filibuster so that Democrats can get whatever they want. Democrats, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, are saying, no, we're not going to do that, because what that's going to mean, we're Democrats, and what that's going to mean is that then Republicans will use the filibuster to get whatever they want. So like universal gun ownership, a border wall that has electric fence on the top of it, deportation of like 30 million illegal immigrants. You can just do that. You can ram that right through Congress. Right through Congress. Essentially like criminalizing communism in our schools. Criminalizing it. Like making their like criminal penalties for teaching communism or being a communist and being in our education system. Those would be really popular. Nationwide voter ID. Like nationwide voter ID. Every single vote is tied directly to a social security number. That would be really important. Federal officers at every single polling station watching and observing and filming. Like filming of all polling stations. Those would be really nice, common sense laws. But here's the deal. I may want those, and I would love to institute that, all right? I would also love to institute tribunals for every Marxist in our military, for every single communist who's infiltrated our education system and inside of our military system. But ladies and gentlemen, you got to do that through major popular support. Now, I think I have major popular support. But if you get rid of the filibuster, then a Republican majority in the Senate would just do all those things forever. We could just institute all of that. By the way, I'm totally in favor of a northern border wall, too, with Canada. It's not a race thing, ladies and gentlemen. There's a lot of communists in Canada. I don't want them in here either. So let's just put up the northern border wall, too. It'll be like Game of Thrones. It'll be fun. But here's the deal. I don't want them to ever get rid of the filibuster, because then that would get used by each party, and then it would be a nuclear bomb that just goes passing between each party, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. All right? So you don't want that. And that's what the common sense Democrats, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin, God bless them, are saying. What Ted Cruz is saying is, hell yeah, like what happens is you impeach Trump twice, you jackasses. You impeached Trump twice, and so you created this world where you would just impeach people for political gain. And so get ready. Joe Brandon is on his way to the impeachment chair right away. Here's what Ted Cruz said in a clip where he breaks down 3 ways to impeach Joe Brandon. You ready? Let's go.
Adopted a constitution under which official malfeasance and nonfeasance, and in some cases misfeasance, may be the subject of impeachment. That's an argument. It's an argument that the Democrats, and they're going after Trump, could rely on. In the case of the border, it's nonfeasance. It's utterly refusing to follow the law. So that's one ground. But there are at least 2 other grounds, and there are probably more. But the 2 other grounds on which a Republican House could consider impeachment are the utter and colossal disaster of the Afghanistan withdrawal, the president abandoning Americans behind enemy lines, the president sharing intelligence with the Taliban, the president abandoning Bagram, including as a result of Biden's abandoning Bagram, releasing the terrorist who became a suicide bomber, murdering 13 American servicemen and women, that could easily be considered malfeasance and a ground of impeachment. And a third potential ground of impeachment is the president's lawless vaccine mandates. And what this would turn on, and look, it's one thing to adopt a strained interpretation of the law, but what this would turn on is the extent to which the president's lawyers advised him this is contrary to law. And we've talked about on this podcast, I believe the Department of Justice and or the White House lawyers told the president and told his senior advisors, you don't have the authority to do this under OSHA. You don't have the authority to do this. You're going to be challenged, and it will very likely lose in court. And I think he made the decision, essentially, I don't care. I'm going to abuse my power and do it anyway because a bunch of people are going to comply. And you could make an argument that to the extent, and the full factual predicate hasn't been developed, you'd have to lay out that he was acting in open defiance of the law. But if you made out that predicate, that would be a third potential ground for impeachment. None of those at the end of the day may be a slam dunk. And if the Democrats had not gone down the road of impeaching Trump twice for political and policy disagreements, then you probably wouldn't see a Republican House respond using the same means. But once they started this process, we predicted at the outset that this was going to be a slippery slope. You know, Justice Joseph.
Okay, so that's Ted Cruz talking about how you could impeach Joe Brandon for negligence, essentially, right? So he is negligent on his duties. He got 13 American heroes, the best in our country, killed in Afghanistan. Released the killer, actually, that killed them. There you go. He is openly defying American law by leaving our border open and allowing for our country to be invaded. 1 million plus criminal migrants crossing into our border, crossing into our country, and disappearing. Who the hell knows where they go? Joe Brandon is doing this. And you could argue that he could be, you could argue he could be impeached for his unconstitutional and illegal COVID mandates, which would be so awesome. And that would be a really important stab in the ground, flag planted on the battlefield to make a declaration to COVID dictators in the future, or any type of medical tyranny, biosecurity state dictators coming in the future, that we don't do this. There needs to be laws passed immediately to protect us against the type of COVID dictatorship that Joe Biden wanted to have here in this country. The whole purpose of the American ruling class is the whole purpose of the global ruling class, by the way. It's not necessarily American. It's the globalist ruling class. They don't love this country. They have no country. They have no loyalty to anyone other than themselves and their own power, their own greed and communism. The whole purpose of the globalist ruling class is to control you. They love China. They hate America. They love China because in China, you can just control people and nobody asks any questions. You can just say, you no longer can leave your house. The end. We've decided. You don't get to ask questions. You don't get to have a say. You have no rights. You can just conquer and take over people's civil rights and trample on them day in and day out. And that is what the grotesque, sickening, corrupted, diseased temple of corporate communist globalist leaders across the world thought that COVID would usher in for them. And now they are collapsing. Thank you for watching. We are 100% independent news. Are you sick of being lied to? We certainly are. That's why we started this channel. But we can't do it without you. We can't keep going without your help. All we ask is that you click like and subscribe and share this video. It's free. And it keeps us going, it keeps us growing, and it keeps us getting the truth out there to break the rotted corporate media infrastructure that wants to lie to you every single day, wants to corrupt your narratives, your truth, your story, and your very society. So support us by clicking like, clicking subscribe, and thank you, Patriots.